Hi, how's it going guys? Pan here, and today I'm actually going to make a video that remakes one of the dishes in a better angle, just because now that I have a little bit more experience making these videos, I want to go back and kind of refine it a little bit. So this dish will be Larb Chicken, which is a Thai dish that consists of basil, garlic, lime, red onions, and chicken. So I'm Thai, if you guys don't know yet, and Larb is the dish name and Kai is chicken. So in my previous video I made it with pork, so that was Larb Mu. But yeah, this time I'm gonna make it with chicken, and yeah, just redoing the video, and I also show you some work that I do in parallel, so the video should be cut down in terms of cooking time as well. Alright, so now I'm gonna get started. First step is to mince the garlic. And actually, while I'm mincing the garlic, I'm actually gonna turn this stove over here. So I have a pan right here and another stove here. You won't be able to see the pan as well, but I'll switch it over later. But I'm just gonna turn on the stove to about medium heat because I just washed the pan. As you can see, it has some water still, and I want that to dry up because I want to start I want to start roasting the garlic that I minced. Yeah, sorry. So first thing is I'll crush my garlic like this. And yeah, so crushed garlic looks like that. Now I will start mincing it. And I want to do the garlic first because I'm actually going to roast the garlic and put it on the side. This dish is a very typical dish that Thai people eat, and it's fairly complex in terms of the types of texture that it consists of. For example, I'm going to roast this garlic, put it on the side, and then after the meat gets stir-fried, I'm going to put the crispy roasted garlic on top of the dish and eat it from there. But yeah, just one step at a time though. Mince the garlic. Alright, so if the garlic is about this small, that's fine enough in terms of the mincing. So I just have to wait for the pan to heat up, then I'll throw the garlic in to be roasted. But while we're waiting for that, we're going to save ourselves some more time. So another part of this dish is onions, red onions. And the red onion is actually going to go into the dish raw. So as I was saying, you know, this is a multi-dimensional dish consisting of stir-fried, roasted garlic, and raw red onions. And I'm slicing them up like this because I want to break up the layers. This is really a personal preference. I think it tastes best like this. So we want this raw. And what I have here is I have this gigantic bowl, which I'll put the garlic, the purple onion in first. And you guys probably noticed I also didn't put the meat onto the cutting board yet. And the reason for that is I want to make sure that the raw meat doesn't touch stuff like the raw onion. Otherwise that wouldn't be too good. Alright, so this is looking good so far. The pan is nice and dry from the heat. So now I'm going to add some olive oil. Another thing that's very typical for Thai people is they buy chicken or pork that has some fat on it, and then they roast that fat to actually produce the oil. Then they take the deep fried pieces of fat and eat it as an appetizer as well. So I'm also gonna move this lime just so it stays sanitary. But in this case, the chicken I bought, the chicken breast I bought, doesn't have too much fat, so I'm just gonna use olive oil instead of doing that process, and plus that would speed up the cooking time as well. So I threw my garlic in there, just like this, and now I'm just gonna start roasting it. And once again, I have this on about medium heat. You don't want to burn the garlic, so you want to make sure that it's a low enough heat you could keep track of. Next, I'll deal with the basil before I put the chicken on, which will be taking up a lot of space. So you really only need basil leaves, and as you can see, this basil came with some stems, which is totally fine. Just cut it off and toss it. Just like this. Yeah, you don't want the stem in there because it's very hard. And most of the basil flavor comes from the leaves anyway, so the stem wouldn't do very much. It's looking very good. Let's cut off little more pieces of these stems. Alright, this is about the last piece with a stem. There you go. So it was really good that we had a lot of space, that we didn't put the chicken on here yet. So yeah, here's all the leaves. So this amount of leaves, of basil leaves, could make a meal for 2 people. Or just 2 meals if you're eating alone. Which isn't bad either. Beats having to cook it twice in a row. So now I'm just gonna chop this up and just remove stems as I go along as well. So the trick to chopping this up is you want to flatten out the leaves as much as possible. Just so you could more effectively chop it. While you're chopping it, also keep a nose on the garlic, because that's a great indicator for its status on how roasted it is. And just stir it around. There we go. Chop, chop, chop. Sometimes that doesn't work out too well, so just take a little handling on it. So this is still a little bit too big, so we'll again bunch it together. Scan there. Alright, and this should be good enough. And we want to chop it up rather than just put the whole raw thing in, because the more surface area each one of these leaves have, the better they could release its basil taste. So we want it to be about like this chopped. Alright, next thing is I'm going to wash this chicken breast. Once again, this chicken breast is very big for one meal, at least for me. So again, just kind of flipping, mix it around, get it nice and evenly roasted. So yeah, you see the garlic starting to turn a little brown, which is good. We're making progress. But you want to be a little darker than that, but not black. Black is burned. Alright, so after we cut our chicken breast, the garlic should be about ready. And it just releases a nice aroma as well, so very pleasant when you're cooking. So these chicken, you want to cut into thin slices like this, just so they don't take too long to cook each piece. And by cooking it faster, it also helps with keeping the meat tender, rather than because when you overcook things, it gets hard, and just when you have pieces that are too thick, it just takes a long time to cook, so it's difficult to time it correctly where it's uniformly cooked. And when the pieces are just big, just chop in half like this and continue slicing. This piece is a little thick, so I'll just slice it in half, and that should compensate for it. Same with this one. The end pieces, they're hard to cut, and you might risk cutting your fingers a little. So it's better to just, do something simple that doesn't put your finger at risk. Alright, this piece was a little thick, so once again, cut it in half. Alright, so my nose is telling me that the roast garlic is getting very close now. And visually, it's also getting browner. See, now it's much more darker. But there's still some garlic pieces that are fairly white. But it's not worth actually having the rest of your garlic burn for the few white pieces, so just go with it, it'll still be fine. I'll leave this line right here. Got the trusty fish sauce ready. Now I'm just gonna make sure this gets there, almost there. So for a camera's sake, I'm gonna actually use this cutting board and heat up this surface so I could transfer the pan over. Just so you guys could see that part as well. So I'll turn this off, because the garlic's perfect right now at the right point. let me just show you. So yeah, so you want your garlic to be about this brown. And yeah, it tastes delicious. So now you want to take it and drain that oil out as well, kind of like this. I hope you guys can see it. Hard to get the angle correct. Yeah, just drain that oil out. And then I'm going to put it on a separate plate. Drain that oil because you're going to need that oil to cook. So you don't have to get all the garlic out completely. It's totally fine to leave some because this garlic is going to enhance the dish a lot anyway. Alright, so that surface is heated up and this surface is still hot, so good thing I didn't put the cutting board on that. First things first, the meat gets cooked. So I have it about half heat, halfway, like medium heat for the surface, and I'm throwing in the meat. So keep in mind, raw meat is pink, or raw chicken meat is pink like this, and as soon as it changes color, it'll turn white from cooking, and so that's indicators for you. So now just kind of break up the pieces a little and get some fish sauce in there, just like that. Now I'm going to turn the heat to be a little bit higher than half. So this dish is almost done, so just mix it around. So now you see that the meat is starting to get white. Some of the pieces are getting partially cooked. Right now, at this point, I'm just gonna start throwing in our chopped basil. Just like that. And some dropped here. There we go. Try to get it all off the cutting board. Alright. I'll just mix this around. Get that basil all up in there. Starts releasing its flavors out. Then I'll add some crushed red peppers. Depending on how spicy you want it. Me, I like it pretty spicy, so just adding more crushed red peppers to it. But careful, not too much. You won't be able to eat the dish. Thai people take a lot of spiciness. But yeah, so make sure you figure out how much you can take. So this is how it kind of looks like right now. Now, it had the red crushed red pepper on it and the basil. So just mix that all around. Starting to smell good, and the chicken has turned whitish. which is kind of the color indicator that it's cooked. So yeah, that's what the dish currently looks like. The chicken's very white. This white color kind of indicates to us it's cooked. So at this point, I turn off the stove and use the residual heat to just finish it off. Like, all the meat is pretty much cooked. So let it finish that off. So it produced a lot of juice too, and this juice will be very delicious. So now that that's done, it's time to mix things together. So surface is a little hot, so I'll put it in between. So right here, this bowl has the raw onions. I'm going to quickly break them apart by just poking at them. So it breaks off into the nice layers. Then I'm just going to add in the stir-fried chicken with basil and crushed red peppers. So now you just kind of mix it together. Mix it with the raw onions. Now we're also going to add some lime to it. So this is a great combo, by the way. The spiciness from the crushed red peppers and lime. Good thing this bowl is clear, so then you guys could see me mixing and I don't have to move things around too much. So now that I squeeze some lime juice into it, I'll just mix it up a little bit more, like this. We're almost done. So right here, kind of roasted garlic. I'll just throw that right on top. Nice and crispy, just like that. So I won't mix that around because I want to keep that roasted garlic crispy, and so I want it to be on top, not touching the actual liquid part. And for this dish, I will eat it with brown rice that I just cooked. And that's it. That's the whole dish right here. Show you a little better. That's it. That's the whole dish. So we cooked in parallel, which saved us some time. But then I ended up talking a lot, which took up a little bit more time. So, you know, the dish did cook faster, except I talked a lot. So the cook time actually was a little bit longer than my previous video. So keep that in mind. But anyway, that's the whole process, guys. Till next time.